What if everything we were told about the Brown family was only half the truth? Because behind the tears, the loyalty, and the talk about sacred plural marriage, there may have been secrets, power shifts, and financial moves that changed everything. And by the end of this video, you might see the entire sister-wife story in a completely different way. So make sure you watch until the end. And if you love deep reality TV breakdowns like this, hit subscribe right now because you do not want to miss what is coming next. Robyn Brown once said that being a plural wife was not just a role for her, but an identity, a belief system, a way of life that shaped how she saw herself and her place in the Brown family. And when she spoke about it, she sounded emotional, almost lost, as if the collapse of the family had shaken the foundation of who she believed she was. Because for years, the story that viewers heard again and again was that plural marriage was sacred to her, and that she had entered the Brown family with a sincere heart, wanting unity, love, and a peaceful home for everyone. But the deeper people look into the history of the family, the more complicated that story begins to feel. Because the Brown family journey started as a hopeful narrative about cooperation and faith. Yet slowly, over time, viewers began to notice contradictions between what was being said and what was actually happening on screen. And that is where the real mystery begins. Because if Robyn truly wanted nothing more than harmony in a plural family, then how did the entire structure end up collapsing until only one marriage remained? And this question has followed the show for years, becoming louder every season as more wives began stepping away from the relationship, leaving audiences to re-examine every conversation, every decision, and every moment that once seemed harmless but now looks very different when seen through a new perspective. The arrival of Robyn into the Brown family was presented as a beautiful expansion of love, a moment where the existing wives welcomed someone new into their lives, believing that another partner would strengthen the support system within the household. But even from the beginning, the situation was not simple, because the family already had many children, financial struggles, and a husband who was constantly dividing his time between different homes and responsibilities. Yet, despite those challenges, Robyn joining the family was portrayed as a hopeful step forward, something that would create more stability and bring everyone closer together. And at first, many viewers believed that narrative, because Robyn often described herself as someone caught in the middle, someone trying to keep the peace between different personalities and expectations. But critics argue that the outcomes of many situations seem to benefit her household more than anyone else, which created the impression that the balance within the family was gradually shifting, whether intentionally or not. And this perception became even stronger during the pandemic years, when strict safety rules became a major point of conflict within the family. Cody and Robyn emphasized very careful guidelines and suggested that other family members were not following them closely enough, which led to arguments and emotional distance between households. However, viewers also learned that a nanny was regularly visiting Robyn home during that same time. And this detail immediately sparked widespread discussion among fans, because many people struggled to understand how outside help could be allowed while other family members were being criticized for spending time with their own children or relatives. And that moment became symbolic of a larger concern about fairness within the family, because it appeared that certain rules were enforced differently depending on the situation and the household involved. But perhaps the most powerful shift in the public conversation about the Brown family came after Christine Brown shared her own perspective through her book, because in those pages, she described several financial and emotional decisions that deeply affected her experience within the marriage. And some of those revelations encouraged viewers to revisit earlier seasons of the show with a completely different mindset. One of the most striking examples involved the complex financial arrangements surrounding homes and property within the family. When the Browns moved from Las Vegas to Flagstaff, the transition involved multiple mortgages, property titles, and financial obligations that connected several members of the family together in ways that were not always easy to understand. According to Christine, there were moments when money from one household contributed to purchases that ultimately benefited another household. And these situations created feelings of imbalance and frustration, especially when combined with the emotional strain already present in the relationship. For instance, Christine explained that when she purchased her home in Flagstaff, both her name and Cody's name were originally connected to the property, but later she was asked to refinance the mortgage so it would be solely in her name. At the time, the explanation sounded supportive because it suggested that the house would become a secure asset for her. However, shortly afterward, she discovered that removing Cody's name from her mortgage allowed him to qualify more easily for financing on another property with Robyn. And that realization left Christine feeling as though an important decision had been presented as an act of generosity when it was actually tied to a completely different goal. And moments like that added new layers of complexity to the story because they suggested that financial planning within the family might not have been as equal as it once appeared. Viewers also learned through the book that money from Mary and Janelle reportedly helped contribute to the down payment on the large home where Cody and Robyn eventually lived, a detail that sparked renewed debate about whether the family truly operated as a shared financial unit, or whether certain members carried more of the burden while others received greater benefits. And as these details spread among the fan community, discussions about the Brown family became more intense than ever because the show had originally presented plural marriage as a cooperative system where resources and responsibilities were shared for the good of the entire group. Yet the final outcome seemed to tell a different story, one where most of the wives eventually chose to leave the relationship entirely, leaving behind the structure they had once defended so passionately. And this transformation forced viewers to confront a difficult possibility that perhaps the version of events shown on television had always been only part of a much larger and more complicated reality, one where personal emotions, financial decisions, and shifting loyalties slowly changed the direction of the entire family without anyone fully realizing the consequences until it was too late. And as fans continue revisiting old episodes, interviews, and statements from the former wives, they keep asking the same haunting question. If the dream of plural marriage was truly shared by everyone in the beginning, then what exactly happened along the way that turned that dream into one of the most dramatic family breakups reality television has ever seen? And perhaps even more importantly, whether the full truth about those turning points has already been revealed, or if there are still hidden pieces of the story waiting to come to light as the next chapter of the Brown family saga continues to unfold. As the years passed and the family story continued unfolding on television, viewers began to notice that the gap between what was said and what was happening seemed to grow wider and wider. Because while the public message coming from Robyn and Cody often focused on unity, loyalty, and the sacred value of plural marriage, the reality that audiences witnessed appeared far more fractured and uncertain. And this contradiction slowly became one of the central tensions that kept people watching the show, because every episode seemed to raise new questions about how a family that once insisted they were stronger together could end up moving further apart with each passing season. One of the most frequently repeated claims from Robyn throughout the years was that she never wanted to be the cause of division in the family. She often described herself as someone who believed deeply in the idea of sisterhood between wives and who dreamed of a household where every child and every adult would feel equally supported. However, as time went on, the relationships between the original wives and Cody began to deteriorate in ways that were impossible for viewers to ignore. Christine openly expressed her frustrations about feeling emotionally abandoned. Janelle struggled with growing distance in her relationship with Cody, and Mary found herself isolated in a marriage that seemed to lose its connection long before the official separation happened. And while every relationship has its own complex reasons for changing, the pattern that many fans noticed was that Cody appeared to be spending the majority of his time at one home, while the other marriages were receiving less attention and support. This observation alone sparked countless discussions online because the entire philosophy of plural marriage within the Brown family had always been based on fairness, shared effort, and balanced commitment. Yet the visible reality suggested that the balance had shifted dramatically over time. Another issue that fueled debate among viewers involved the way Robyn often spoke about sacrifice. She frequently mentioned that she had given so much for the family, that she had endured criticism and emotional stress simply because she believed in the principle of plural marriage and wanted the family to succeed. Yet critics questioned what sacrifices she was truly referring to, because by the time the family structure began collapsing, Robyn remained the only wife still living full-time with Cody. She had legal marriage status, financial security, and the largest home among the households. And these facts made some viewers wonder whether the word sacrifice meant something very different depending on who was telling the story. And perhaps the most controversial discussions surrounding the Brown family came from the financial side of the narrative, because as more information emerged about property ownership, mortgages, and shared resources, it became clear that the financial web connecting the family members was extremely complicated. When the Browns relocated from Las Vegas to Flagstaff, the move was framed on the show as a fresh start, a chance to build a shared future on a large piece of land known as Coyote Pass, where each wife could eventually have her own home while still remaining part of a close community. But the reality of that plan proved far more difficult than expected, because building on the property required significant financial coordination between multiple households, each with different income levels, debts, and priorities. And according to accounts shared by the former wives, certain decisions about how money was used created resentment that continued growing behind the scenes. For example, when Cody and Robyn purchased their large house in Flagstaff, the transaction raised questions among viewers because the down payment reportedly included contributions that originated from the resources of other wives within the family. While the explanation given publicly was that the family operated as a shared financial unit, critics pointed out that the final distribution of assets did not appear equal, especially after the relationships began dissolving, and that realization caused many people to revisit older episodes and reconsider conversations that had once seemed straightforward. Because when a family presents itself as a collective financial partnership, the expectation is that benefits and responsibilities will be shared equally. But the outcome of the Brown family story left several former wives rebuilding their lives independently, while one household remained significantly more stable financially and emotionally. Another moment that stood out for many viewers involved Christine's departure from the marriage, which marked the first major turning point in the breakdown of the plural family structure. Christine explained that she had reached a point where the relationship no longer felt like a true partnership, and that remaining in the marriage would mean accepting a life without the emotional connection she believed a husband and wife should share. Her decision to leave shocked many fans, because for years she had been one of the strongest voices defending plural marriage. But once she stepped away, it became easier for others within the family to acknowledge their own frustrations. And soon afterward, Janelle also chose to separate from Cody, while Mary's relationship gradually came to its own quiet ending, leaving Robyn as the only wife still living full-time with Cody. As the only remaining partner in the original plural marriage arrangement, and this final outcome created one of the most striking ironies in the entire story, because the woman who often spoke most passionately about preserving plural marriage ultimately found herself in a monogamous relationship, the very situation she once said she never imagined. And that irony continues to fuel debate among fans, who wonder whether the collapse of the family was the result of unavoidable circumstances, or whether it developed slowly through a series of decisions that unintentionally favored one household over the others. Even today, the discussions surrounding the Brown family remain intense, because every interview, every social media post, and every new episode adds another layer to the narrative. Supporters of Robyn argue that she simply became the focus of criticism because she was the last wife remaining, and that the real reasons for the family breakdown involved deeper issues within the relationships, long before she entered the picture. While critics believe the evidence suggests that favoritism and unequal financial arrangements played a major role in the unraveling of the family dynamic. And somewhere between those perspectives lies a complicated truth about human relationships. Because when multiple marriages share the same emotional space, the same finances, and the same responsibilities, even small imbalances can grow into major conflicts over time. The Brown family once presented their story as proof that plural marriage could succeed with honesty, patience, and faith. Yet their journey eventually revealed how fragile that balance can be when expectations change and personal needs evolve. And as audiences continue reflecting on the rise and fall of the Brown family experiment, one question still echoes louder than any other. If everyone entered the arrangement believing in the same dream of unity and shared purpose, then how did that dream slowly transform into a situation where nearly every relationship fractured, leaving only fragments of the family that once promised to stand together forever? And until every voice from that family tells their full story, viewers will likely keep returning to the same moments, searching for clues, trying to understand where the turning points truly began, and whether the real story behind the Brown family is even more complicated than anyone has yet revealed. And when you look at the entire story, from the beginning to the end, it raises one final question.